Welcome, everyone, to the Miss Art World podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening. I have a really exciting co-host that is going to be joining us from now on, Samuel Cooksey with the Samuel Cooksey Projects. Welcome, Samuel.
Hi.
He's co-hosted before, but a long time ago. And then our special guest today is David Jester. Welcome.
Thank you.
So if you're listening, stop whatever you're doing and look up David's work. What's the best? Do you think Instagram is the best?
Instagram, yeah, because I dumped Facebook because all the politics. But it's D_Jester_art on Instagram.
Perfect. Yeah, look up his work because I think it's really important to see your work in person before we start talking about it.
Yeah, no, it is. And the Instagram's nice because you can really go through, they're like good photos of your work on Instagram. So you can really kind of go through and see which ones, stand out. The one that stands out that I really like, especially with the colors, is the guy is sitting in like the inner tube and he's like half in the water and half out. There's something about that one that's really interesting, and just like the colors kind of pop, and then because he's in the water a little bit and out, how he kind of made it. I don't know. It was really interesting to see that one. That's my favorite so far when I was looking.
Yeah, well, so the pool is like its own world, right? It's a separate world. It's actually sort of a metaphor for the gay community, and it's this person who's sort of entering. He's curious about what's going on. So,
can you explain your work for people that are just listening and maybe can't stop what they're doing and look up your work?
Yeah. So I when I was I got my master's at Rutgers years ago in sculpture.
Oh, in sculpture?
Yeah, sculpture.
Oh,
I used to do installations, rooms, and what I loved about the sculpture department is that it was more inclusive. You could paint, and you could be a printmaker, and you could do all these different elements and put them together. And so that's why I went the sculpture route. But anyways, I did pools back then, and that was really before a lot of the gay rights, LGBT rights, and so I would do these rooms where the floor was a pool, and there were murals all around of guys coming out of a pool. And the idea was that we're all in the same pool of humanity. So when I started this series, I wanted to begin with the pool again, but the pool is more the opposite. It's more a world that exists next to the outside world, right? And what I loved about the pool was not only the sort of metaphors of fluids, body fluids, purity, the desire for purity, and shared experiences within the pool, was also this idea of, if it was the gay community and outside was a straight community, is when you're inside the pool looking out or you're outside looking in, you have a very distorted view of the person on the other side. And so I liked how they played with that. And I think that the series initially started as sort of a criticism of what I was seeing online in terms of like how people were interacting on social apps, the sort of no fats, no femmes, no Asians, no this, no that, are you clean, all that kind of odd statements. And at that time, when I started, I thought it was ironic that we fought for rights for so many years only to sort of discriminate against each other. But with the current political era that's come in, the series kind of evolved, and I liked read some of the sort of queer theory that I've been reading or had been reading was talking about how the act of visibility is an act of activism, and so then I think that sort of steered the series more in that direction. Was that clear?
Yeah, no, for me, the way you explain it is really good, just because it is the pool. And even like, as I said, like my favorite one, you said it was because he's only kind of in, he's not fully,
right.
He's just kind of experimenting or trying out.
Yeah.
What?
He's thinking about it.
Yeah, thinking about it. And it's really interesting because I didn't even pick that up. I didn't know there was such a deep meaning to the art.
Yeah, so I think the great thing about art for me is that because of my background, the sort of the scholastic background, that's not the word I'm thinking of, but there can be a huge thesis to a body of work, to a series, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it's what the person brings to the, to the experience of interacting with the piece. So it's there if you want it, or if you go down that road, or you can just like it for what it is,
Yeah. That's why I always like art, because there's a meaning that means to the artist itself, and then there's a meaning to just the people that every individual that sees it.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it speaks differently.
Yeah. I started, there's another Instagram account that's D_Jester_collaborations, where I've invited poets to write about the paintings, because I want to do a book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, imagery. But the thing that I loved about the idea of the collaborations account was that how even taking it farther, how one piece of creativity can spark another piece of creativity, right? And they can carry on and carry on.
I think as an artist too, it's got to be very helpful to read poetry about your work.
Yeah.
Because I've always, when I'm speaking with people, or if people write about my work, I gain a different perspective of my own work that maybe I hadn't even thought about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your work is large scale. It's on wood, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is the scale important to you?
It is. And so during quarantine, I cannot get the place I was getting my huge panels from is closed still. So I've been stuck doing these smaller panels. And in fact, I was going to end the series just as COVID was starting. But it's kind of nice because it kind of continues. Like I feel like each painting is a chapter in a story, so it like adds more chapters, right? It gives me stuff to edit when I do the book. But the next series is all going to be big. Once things open up, it's all like 5 by 5 foot panels.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still with the pool setting?
Mm-mm. No, not at all. Yeah,
That's going to be so different for you.
I know, it's going to be fun. So, there's the whole thing where it's like, it's kind of scary because it's like well, there's so many weird things about being an artist anyways, right? But I mean, one of the things that's scary is like, is you're afraid to, I don't necessarily experience, but sometimes with people, it's like you're afraid to do another painting because you don't want it to be worse than the painting you just did, kind of thing. And then there's the other thing where it's like the paintings, when they're popular, it's like, oh my God, like, do I really want to like end these? Because this is how I live and eat and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. This is what people like.
How many do you have in that series?
75.
75. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so many.
You really can make a book.
Yeah. No, it's a lot. But I paint 12 hours a day, every day of the week. And I take off maybe 15 days a year, something like that.
What do you do for fun besides painting?
Nothing.
Painting is fun.
It is fun. Yeah, no, it's a thing, right? But,
so then, did you get, are they all different models? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, well, they're not all different models. Like generally when I do work with models, I'll get like 3 or 4 paintings out of a session.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, last year, I got tired of doing the piecemeal sessions with models, and I had come out here to Palm Springs, and I did 14 models over 4 days, like 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I have material to take me for another year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So do you get underwater with them with a like, do you have a special camera that you use?
I have a really crappy camera, underwater camera. But I taught life drawing at Monmouth University, and I taught drawing at Rutgers after I graduated. So, I mean, I have the heavy lifting is in the sort of actual painting process. I just need sort of reference stuff for light play and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So the paintings start out with an idea of how they'll fit into the narrative, and then I book the models, and then I do the underwater shoot with the models. And then sometimes I do drawings after that while I have the models. But then I always do drawings after, like before I start the painting, and then it goes from drawing to painting. So it's a really long process.
Mhm. And then the water's, oh, go Katie.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and the water seems very warm because no one seems very shriveled.
Well,
in-
actually, I do take license in those moments when it's necessary.
Well, then you can definitely paint me. Just make it big.
Huge.
Then I can give it to my mom. So she can.
She'll love it.
That was a weird conversation.
So you know, our parents love art, so that would definitely be up in their living room somewhere.
Well, who are the collectors that are buying your work? Because it is a statement piece. Like you buy this huge canvas and it's not a quiet piece. So do you find that your collectors are like within a certain group? Or are they art collectors or?
Yeah, it's very mixed. I think in the beginning, you know, it was such a weird thing to start, to even have this idea and start the series, because first of all, it's really weird when an old guy comes up to you and says, I really want to paint you. And then says, I want to paint you naked in a pool, kind of thing. But in the beginning, I think that the people who were buying the pieces were local people who knew the models, or just older gay guys that wanted stuff that knew other people who talked about the paintings. And then it expanded to more of an international audience. I have a gallery that carries my stuff that's out of Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
I'm usually in the Amsterdam art fairs and things like that.
Cool.
And then because of Instagram, because of the popularity on Instagram, or the increased audience on Instagram, then I started getting people from, I just sold a painting to Malta, Belgium. It's kind of all over the place, as well as the US. So it kept growing and growing. But
Do you have to fly out to Amsterdam a lot?
No, I don't. The paintings, I always say the paintings have a much better life than I do. You know, they will often have these great experiences, and I'm stuck here painting.
How big is your workspace? Since they are giant pieces, do you have a whole room just to dedicate?
Yeah, a whole room. It's the room off to this side.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a 1-bedroom, and I made the bedroom the studio, and then my bed is in the living room, tucked away. And then I use the living room as sort of a gallery. So when people want to come look at paintings, they can come see them.
Wow. How many do you still have in your house right now?
I think I have about 30.
Okay.
25.
Do you rotate them behind you?
So these are the ones, so it's like a process. It's like a little factory. In there are I usually have 3 to 5 going at one time, and they're rotating because it's oils. So I let them go between layers. And then when they're done, they rotate out here for a while, for probably about a month and a half. And then as the work in there gets done, it rotates out here. And then and it goes to like a storage thing. So.
Yeah, because you have a ton of, you have what, 70 you said, or over 70. So
yeah,
it's got to have a lot of room to be able to store them all.
Yeah, well, I mean, so there's, you know, over half of them are out in people's homes, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a gallery that went out of business due to COVID. So I ended up with a lot of the inventory that they had suddenly appeared. So.
Yeah, COVID's changed so much as of right now, just the way we do things.
It's crazy, yeah. I mean, I feel like the social media is the way of the future. Like, I just listened to your podcast about the future, but I do feel like I feel like the little brick and mortar galleries are going to be less important than the online presence going forward.
Yeah, and I think because I work with so many artists, and the artists that I work with are usually older, and they have a hard time getting on the social media bandwagon, partly because they think someone's going to steal their artwork, and so they don't want to post it. And so my job a lot of times is trying to convince them that social media is not the devil, and you're not going to lose the rights to your artwork if you post it, but you have to get it out there if you want people to see it, because it's just, that's the way that the art world's going.
You know, I mean, I have seen a couple people take the images, but usually it's like screen captures and it looks awful kind of thing. But I feel like that doesn't even bother me, because whatever it is, it's all about building brand. So it's all about exposure. So even if someone's stealing a crappy version of it and doing something with it, it doesn't matter, because it still builds brand.
Do you, because your work is, technically some people would consider it controversial, do you have people that maybe in person or on social media come at it negatively?
The answer is yes.
Yes.
So
and then
first
how
of
do you
all,
respond?
the first thing that happened to me is I was in a show at what's that place called? It's in LA. I'm drawing a blank. I'm really drawing a blank, but it's in the art district in LA. I don't know why I can't remember the name of it. It was like 2 years ago, and I guess I just sort of put it out of my mind because their reaction to everything was just really poor, and I just didn't want to have anything to do with them again. But they, on weekends, they rented out part of their space to a church, Korean church. And this little Korean church brought trash bags in and put them over my paintings.
Oh no.
The gallery was separate from the space they were renting. They went into the gallery section and put trash bags over my paintings. And then they started spreading the news to all their members, and they started coming at me and attacking me on Instagram. So I just am very careful. When someone follows me, I really look at who's following me, because I don't want to go through that experience again. But that being said, then about 3 months ago, my Instagram account name was SureJess1121 for years. But someone shared that with a crazy religious organization somewhere. I don't even know where. Because in the metrics, I could see that it was shared, but I couldn't see where it was shared. And every 15 minutes, at least, for 2 days solid, I was getting hate mail, hate texts, nasty comments. And that's why I changed the account name. So yeah, you do get that sometimes, but it's just part of the thing.
Well, and I'm mentoring a woman who is kind of going through the same thing. And from my perspective, I think if you're not making artwork that isn't controversial, that isn't inspiring emotion, either negative or positive, then you're not making art that is
matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so for me, it's a good thing, but
and art that's not going to last. Like you can feel like, oh, it's a pretty picture, but that you're not going to think about it later on, or even have a conversation about it, because there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Which is why, like, when you talked about the representation of the pool and how it's kind of distorted, I thought that was really interesting, because I can literally go like, look at this, and this is kind of what it means. And
yeah, I love it.
Smarter than everyone.
There are other metaphors that have been in the series for sure. There was a large group of paintings. The tiles are actually HIV molecules. And in those paintings, pool cleaners feature prominently, trying to clean the water kind of thing. There's
no way.
All kinds of, I'm usually bringing in different kind of metaphors just to be sure that the story is more diverse and more inclusive, more like a complete picture of things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting to have it be a pool where you have people standing outside of the pool looking in, because in my mind, I think a pool is very small
Mm-hmm.
or not very big. And I'm sure that's how the community, LGBT, feels, that their community is small, even though the outside world, there's so much room and so many people looking into their area. This is the area that they live, and
Right.
how do they react to people within their pool. I just thought was really great. I didn't realize that the pool had such a significant meaning behind your work.
It's huge, yeah. And the thing about this series is very subtle. The metaphor is very subtle, and the sort of meaning is very subtle. The next series is more like hit you over the head kind of thing.
No, it is.
It'd be interesting seeing the change, for sure.
Do you want to talk at all about the next series, or do you want to leave it a secret?
Well, so the next series is about people ignoring horrible situations based on a set of religious or just a set of beliefs in general.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Cherry Pickers. The first one, they're on Instagram already. Although the paintings are not really done, I need to get back into them and get them to a better place. Yeah, it's completely different.
And
But is
same
it
kind
still-
of process with photographing the work ahead of time?
No, live models.
Okay.
Live models and a lot of made up stuff. And you can't quite see it, but let's see if I can get the. Let's see.
And is it all oil still?
It's all oils. I
Okay.
can't see. So in the back there, I'll send you a picture too, so you can see.
Okay.
That'll probably be better. So it's a sort of it's this sort of 1950s living room that's very empty, and in this living room, in the background, is a Confederate flag, and on the TV, on a very 50s sort of console TV, is Matthew Shepard, or will be once it's done. And then there's a sort of Bauhaus pottery on the mantle. And as you come forward, there's a group of people sitting around a table eating cherries, cherry pickers. And then there's Bibles and just kind of like these tropes that are going on. And then in the second painting, there was a Brazilian trans person who was murdered last year. And so they have that person in the foreground in a cherry orchard as people pick cherries from the trees.
Mm.
There's some things about those paintings that I need to sort of resolve before I continue with the other paintings that are planned, because I just want to make sure that the language is where I want it to be. And I think right now the visual language is not quite there.
Okay.
So I did post them, but that's not where they're going to be when they're done.
How long does it normally take you to finish a piece?
So I do 12 hours a day because the paintings take like 100 to 150 hours each. They're pretty time consuming. And I set a goal of doing 30 paintings a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you said you started with sculptures. Do you still do any sculptures?
I want to get back into sculpture. I miss sculpture. I had so much fun in sculpture, and I did so many crazy things. Like I cast myself in Jell-O.
Did you?
On a table, and I would just sit there and wiggle, and people would come up and touch it. I let it get moldy and fall apart. And all
That
that
is
good
amazing.
stuff. And then I did angels on barbecues that were wrapped in foil, and I did a room full of chocolate guns. I cast all these guns in chocolate, and it was just really fun. Sculpture's really fun for me, and I want to sort of get back to that.
Do you think you've
I had made a, sort of like Judy Chicago inspired dinner chairs, and in the center of the chairs was my head cast in Jello. I was really weird. I'm a real weirdo. So.
Well, I mean, you have to be an artist almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I have plans. Actually, I one of my favorite things in sculpture outside of the big installations was just relief stuff, and so I want to do some reliefs. After I'm done with this series of pools, I do want to revisit it with a series of relief sculptures.
That's awesome. Do you find that the energy of yourself changes when you're working on your series the cherry picking series versus the energy when you're painting the men in the pool? Because the men in the pool seem more celebratory, and the cherry picker series seems more, I don't know the word I'm thinking of, but
so they're similar to a certain degree, right? Because the men in the pool are like like in your face, like it's the visibility piece of it is important, and the visibility piece of it is important as well. But I feel like the energy, how I feel when I paint them, is completely different. Yeah, because one's really happy and one's like not so much. But then, you have to sort of reel that in. You don't want to be like, I don't know, overly emotional. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. You don't want to look, it loses its edge. So it's like things for me, there's a fine line between, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but I guess it's like in terms of how I paint, let's say, I don't paint hyper-realistic, like if you get up on them, because I feel like hyper-realism, then when something's hyper-realistic, the technical aspect of it sort of gets rid of the content aspect of it. And so I feel like, going back to the other thing I was saying, is like when your emotions are just too, I don't want to say childish, but when they're too raw, I think that takes away from the content as well. Does that make any sense? That was a weird. I'm just sort of talking and not making sense. You'll cut that out, right?
Post.
Fix it in post.
So, I see that you have some tattoos. Did you design your own tattoos since you do art, or do you have other?
So I was a producer with Sony for years. That's how I made, that's how I lived. And then I think once the kids got out of the house and stuff like that, I was like, that's it. I have my degree, so it's back to art kind of thing. And so then after I left Sony, I was doing commercials and kind of documentaries for the electronics end of things. I was a DP. I worked on indie films kind of stuff. And so this tattoo is from the films. And then this side is just Icarus and his father. Just because I'm
okay. Do you have a special artist you normally go to for it, or?
I did when I was living in San Diego. I have my hair. So eventually I want to take the film strip and I want to turn it into paintings.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because it's kind of like what really happened. So,
Yeah, that'd be really neat. And then, do you have an idea of when you want your book to be done?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have enough poems. Now it's just a question of selling enough paintings to sort of get the seed money to make the book. As soon as I get the money, then I'll make the book. I think it's ready.
Yeah, because my idea in my head right now is it's like would be a really cool like tabletop kind of book, or tabletop dining room table or something like that.
Big book, yeah.
Coffee table, thank you. Coffee table book.
We could go through all the different tables and now the dining room table.
desk table. But yeah, like I think it'd be really neat to have like you have that hardcover and it's there so people can kind of thumb through and look at all the pieces.
Yeah, and I have like, I think I want to keep it to like 20 poems, and then I have a really great author friend that's up in Seattle that wrote some stuff. So it's it'll be a balance between on the writing and the paintings.
Or do you do any writing yourself?
I suck at writing.
Me too. I hate writing. If someone's like, write this, I'm like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, like I have done it. Obviously, I did my thesis for school, but I really hate it. I really hate it.
Yeah. I don't know why well, I know why. I know why MFA programs force you to write a thesis, but it also is so hard when you're an artist and you're so attached to visual language and then to have to write it with the words.
Yeah, there's actually someone I follow on Instagram who I follow just because his writing is simply amazing. It's stunning, and it's Matthew Carey Williams. And I admire people who can write, but it's not me. It's not me at all. Yeah.
Well, since Katie has a heart out, is there anything you want to like, wrap up or like kind of end on, like on a kind of a thought for the listeners?
Let me just check something. Gosh, I don't know, guys. Vote. Get out and vote. No, I don't know.
I think a lot of artists would have a hard time, including myself, like leaving their day job to then pursue art full time. Do you have any advice on that? Just the dive, or
it's I can say it's completely as tough as you think it's going to be, but I think that the important thing is to just keep on it and stay with it and somehow make things work. And if you give the work that much attention, I feel like the universe will reward you, and it will happen. But it doesn't happen, for the most part overnight. It happens in steps. It's just little steps. But I know for myself, I felt like, obviously I paint a lot, right? But I feel like it's what I'm meant to do. So I have this sort of stupid blind faith of just doing it, right? And then figuring out everything else afterwards. I think because I didn't do art for so many years, because kids and all that stuff, that it was pent up. Mm-hmm. But I would say the advice is to just do it. Just go for it. Figure it out. But because honestly, that's the most important thing you can do, right?
Give us where people can find you, your website, your social media handle again.
Yeah. So the work is mainly on Instagram at D_Jester_art, and also D_Jester_collaborations. And I do have a website, although it's I'm not really great at updating it. It's davidmjester.com.
If someone's interested in purchasing one of your work, is Instagram the best way to reach out to you?
Instagram's the best way for sure. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
It was so fun seeing you and talking to you, and it was really nice meeting your brother.
Yeah, it was nice seeing you too. I haven't, because of COVID, been out to see art people, so it's really nice to reconnect with you and see what you're doing. And
Yeah, I sent you a message saying if you're ever in Palm Springs, stop by. It'd be fun to see you.
Oh, perfect. I would love to see your studio too.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Well, great. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. I hope you're doing something fun.
Thank you.
You're probably painting because that's your fun. But it was really nice talking to you. Thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time.
well, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was fun. All right.
Bye.
Bye.